Today I'll be playing 100 Days of Pokemon Pathways, but how does this actually work? Well, Pokemon Pathways is a fan game, where every single one of your choices can change the entire course of the game. There's no regular gym challenge or Pokemon League or anything like that. In this game you play as a student going to his first ever school, and this actually works with a day system where you have a certain amount of energy every day, and with this energy you can perform actions that will increase your skills, like your strength or your intelligence. If you've ever played something like Persona, the game is kind of like that. And it has an incredible amount of features that we'll be going over throughout the video. Most importantly, some challenges that I wanted to complete. In the game you can build up relationships with other people, which will be indicated by a number, and every time you talk to them or battle them, this number will go up. So I'd like to get to level 100 with one of the characters out of the game. Also be able to progress through classes starting out with D, and you'll have the opportunity to get to class S, which is the best one, just like in One Punch Man. I also want to get one of my character traits to 100 plus, so either intelligence, strength, charm, or skill. And lastly, there will be an Aqua, Magma, and Rocket base, and I want to complete one of these three fully and see what's locked behind it. With all of that out of the way, let's try to smash 5,323 likes, and let's jump right into Pokemon Pathways. You start out by doing an application for a school you want to attend to. Here you have to answer a couple of questions which can influence the rest of your story. I decide to go with the male character, then you have to answer which matters to you the most, power, knowledge, love, or fame, and I decided to go with love because, I mean, what more do you need in life, right? Second question is, what do you do in your spare time? And I went with partying because I do love going out for a couple of drinks now and then. And as my profession, I went with Pokemon Master because of all of the Pokemon ROM hacks and fan games I've already played. My biggest fear out of all of these four is death, and then my favorite Pokemon out of this list is Zoroark. After that, your exam is done, and you spawn into your room, and I guess we just have to wait if we're actually allowed in this new school. There's a book on my table that also tracks all of my traits, but later on, this will be available in the menu itself. I go downstairs to talk to my mother, and she's super happy for me that I've applied to this new school, but I should definitely get some nice rest so we can start tomorrow with a bang. In the middle of the night, we wake up to some very ominous noises downstairs, and we see a character that's literally us but evil, doing unspeakable things to the mom. You get to pick between three options to talk to this guy, and I just say what happened to my mom, which increases my light aura. I'm guessing if I would have picked you'll pay for this, my dark aura would have gone up. The guy leaves saying that I'm a failure, but I luckily wake up in my bed as it all seemed to just be a nightmare. I then go into my computer to see if we've passed the exam, and despite not passing it, we somehow still got in. So I print out my school pass and head downstairs to tell my mother the good news. She gives me my final goodbyes and tells me how proud she is of me, but also gives me a pair of running shoes. I also find out that our hometown is called Little Maw, and after doing some exploration here, I head over to the police office and see that somebody here has a quest for me. One of the officers has been slacking off in a restaurant, and they want me to get him, and as a reward they will give me part of his paycheck. I don't know if that's legal, but let's do it. Upon entering the restaurant, I first talk to a girl who mentions a stalker that's been following her around for a couple of days, and she wants me to take care of him. We go on to accept the quest, but before we complete it, I first talk to the police officer. He just seems to have lost track of time and heads back to the station immediately. I then go up to the stalker creep, but he says that he's doing nothing wrong and starts yelling at the top of his lungs. I try to calm him down, but I fail, and he sends out his Hitmonchan to attack me, but I don't have any Pokemon yet, so I have to take on this Hitmonchan in a fist fight. Well, this would probably be the worst opponent ever in a fist fight. I still somehow managed to beat him by using special attacks, precise attacks, and normal attacks. You can also defend, but this is definitely one of the coolest and funniest features I've ever seen implemented into a fan game. The owner of the restaurant then says that he called the cops because we're making too much of a ruckus, and we get thrown outside and the cops follow us everywhere until they manage to capture me. I get brought to the police station, and they mention that the only reason I'm not in jail is because I'm applying at the academy, and they decide to bring me there, and I'll never be able to return here again. And the police is so aggressive that even after detaining me and putting me behind a fence, they still follow me around. Anyway, I get put on a boat and escorted by a police officer through my campus. There's students standing around and gossiping about me as to why I've been brought here by the police. I check out the campus for a bit, hanging out in the lobby, talking to the receptionist, and finding a glitch spot in the wall immediately. I get summoned to the assembly room and sit around with all of the other students. We also meet the head of the school, Mr. Yamamoto. I took a seat between Born and Link. I probably butchered that last name. And they were gambling on whether somebody would sit between them. And since I did, Lin now has to give Born money. Some pretty odd guys, but I think I could get along with them. The director goes on to explain that champions and masters have been at this school of great skill, and that we could be the next one if we just put our mind to it and make sure to not slack off too much. The two guys beside me say that this is one of the most boring things ever and that they should have just skipped. The headmaster then calls out to Born and Link to come on the stage because they are part of the 5 best S-class students, also called the Supreme 5. As the principal has explained that we should take an example to these people, they start fighting on stage. Alicia starts scolding at the two guys that were goofing off, saying that they should act like S-class students, but Born isn't having anything of it because he doesn't like to be pushed around as he challenges her to a battle. Obviously, she's going to decline because this needs to be kept civil, and then the principal steps in saying that they need to act normal because they need to working the D-class students, which are all of us sitting in the audience right now. All of the 5 members go on to introduce themselves, so we meet Alicia, the 5th best member of this group, the 4th one, Vane, who is a man of not that many words. Number 3 is straight up sleeping, so we don't even get to know her. The 2nd best trainer here is Lin, and the best one is Born. And saying that he's the number 1 S-class trainer really reminded me of One Punch Man. And when a game makes connections like that, I can't help but love it.
Nice.
Just as the principal is about to wrap up the orientation, one more guy walks in and he says that the next S-class student has arrived and it's me, Esrever. What a name. He also calls all of us losers, and that's when the principal takes him back to his office. Everybody leaves and we have to go and grab our student ID from the reception desk. Here we can get our status checker so we can see how much energy we have left inside a day, and we also get our dorm room key. Before we go and check out our new room, I decide to stop by the cafeteria where you can buy some pretty useful items like leftovers and just some regular healing items, which are represented by food. We then move around the campus and check out everybody, because what we have to do next will probably decide a lot of what will happen in our game. We have to pick our mentor from the S class. We can pick between all 5 members, but I decide to go with the one and only Mr. No Words, Vane. I just really like his appearance and he seems like a very chill guy. As a description, it says that he's the Lord of Lightning controlling the best electric type Pokemon out there, and personally I'm a pretty big fan of that. He also has one of the biggest hearts of all students and is very compassionate, so I don't think we could have a better mentor than him. We then go up to talk to him and he mentions that we should go around campus to do activities to level up my traits, and I should also go and make some new friends. I went around campus and entered a nearby cave, and here you can use your energy to mine for treasures. I didn't really find anything significant, and wasting your energy on rocks like these really isn't worth it. I also found some people blocking the Pokemon Center with a Pokemon battle, but that doesn't really matter because I don't have my first Pokemon yet. I also ran into the dojo where you can fight other people to get your strength up, but doing this does cost a lot of energy. I also found out about the library where you can read books to get your intelligence up, once again in trade for some energy. I also found the S-class student dorm, which we can't enter until we're an S-class student ourselves, and I then went to the biggest building I've ever seen in all of Pokemon, my dorm. There's a ton of rooms here from different students. Sadly enough, you can't enter any of those. Maybe if you get your relationship up with these people, you'll be able to enter them later on, but I'm not sure. As I enter my own room, I see that I have a computer, a bed, a place to do homework at, a closet where I can change my outfit, and a Pokédoll which, if I talk to it, will allow me to make my Pokemon follow me. My dorm also has its very own kitchen where you can get food, and a garden which you can use to get unlimited berries. I think I've checked out enough for today, so let's go to sleep and enter our very first day of school. Going to your class does take away 20 energy, but it's required, otherwise you'll get detention. Upon entering the class, the teacher mentions that he has a Pokemon for me based on all of my traits. After picking it up, I see that it's a Sylveon, which I don't personally think fits me really well, but I guess we'll be rolling with it. It comes out of its Pokeball and follows me around, and I really love that that they've actually implemented overworld sprites from Pokemon from Generation 5 and onward. It just adds so much charm to a game that, in my opinion, already feels like a masterpiece. The class then starts and the teacher introduces himself as the Grass and Bug type specialist. He asks everybody in class to come up and introduce themselves too, but we do go up first. And after introducing myself, a student asks why I was escorted to this campus by a security guard, so I decided to tell him the truth. That I got into a squabble with a Hitmonchan and beat him up. That should definitely make a good first impression on my classmates. The next person we get to meet is Akiza, and she likes fighting type Pokemon. Fighting in general is really just her passion. I guess we must have made quite an impression on her then. Hyun is a grass type trainer and he practices the shinobi arts together with his Pokemon. Yariet is a witch that only needs witchcraft and jokes in her life. And the guy that barged in at the beginning doesn't even want to introduce himself. Now we're going to get out for a little expedition to the Class D's floor field. What are these class floors though? Well, they're basically routes, and every single one of them will have its very own theme. So grass types, water types, and so on and so forth. You can kind of think of them as those dungeons from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon at the Makuhita Dojo. Every single route will have different people on it and different Pokemon you can encounter, but also side quests that can definitely reward you with some things that are worth your while. The better of a trainer you become, the more routes you'll be able to unlock. It does cost energy to go to one of the floor fields, and for now we have only unlocked one single route, and that's the Green Hills. So let's see what this thing is all about. We find out that while Pokemon actually spawn in the overworld and you no longer have random encounters, which I'm personally a big fan of. There's also some trainers you can defeat, a side quest that I immediately accepted where I had to get some guy's monocle that he dropped off a bridge, but in order to get there I first had to help out this trucker because his car's wheel is totally busted. So we have to go and find help for him, but instead I decide to battle him, and once we end this battle, his car actually ends up exploding, meaning we can't really help him out anymore. I do love that there's like a ton of options for this one side quest. You can either help him out, but you can also make his car explode and decide to just not help him at all. I also captured a Hoppip because Jumpluff can be pretty overpowered if used correctly, found a random rare candy sitting on a table, and my very first raid den, which I did have to use 6 skill points to just go into it, so I left it alone for now. With that, we end off our first day, and the teacher says that we can also come and talk to him if we want to upgrade the class floors, but we're going to have to pay with one of our trade points in order to do so. And we also learned that we can take our graduation exam to the next class on Fridays. Since it's currently Monday, we do have a couple of days before we can move on to Class C. In the basement of the school, there seems to be some kind of training area with a ton of equipment and a random brawly that doesn't say anything when you talk to him, so I guess we'll be able to unlock this later on in the story. I bought a couple of leftovers, gave a girl a necklace for a quest, and got a free repel. I went up to a pyramid, but upon entering I see that it is not a battle pyramid at all. Instead, there will be different people here on every single day of the week. So Monday, this guy might be here, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, there will be different people, because when you talk to these guys, they will give you free stat boosting items like HP ups, proteins, calcium, all of that shenanigans. But you can only pick up 3 a day, and it takes 10 energy just to take one of them. As you can see, there is so much stuff to spend your energy on already that it can definitely get very hard to manage your days. I headed to sleep straight after to replenish my energy and headed to the library for my first social interaction with Yariet. After talking to her, I gained 2 hearts, and obviously I want to get to 100 with one of these characters. So I went to the dojo straight after and talked to Akiza, which is attracted to dark auras. So if you decide to walk the path of the bad guy, her hearts will go up quicker. You can also battle these people for more hearts, but do keep in mind that this will once again cost you energy. I battled some karate masters in fist fights, and every time you manage to win, you get 5 extra strength points. I then went back to the D rank floor and entered the next route. Here you can find normal types and mostly bug types. Here I found out that you sometimes need strength in order to get through the route fully. Like here, I got stuck because I had no more strength points anymore, and pushing away these boulders costs 2 of them. And while I was able to complete a quest to get some extra light aura, I wasn't able to do much more and headed back to the school. And headed to class just to find out that you really don't learn anything anymore anymore, and class is kind of a waste of your time from this point onwards. You'll also be able to find the S-class students walking around the campus, and you are able to interact with them and have different conversations with them, but you can't really start a social link with them like your classmates. The next day I captured a munchlax on one of the routes and headed to the battle facility. It's kind of just in the name. Here you have to battle a trainer for some experience for your Pokemon, but upon winning the battle you will also gain skill points. So now we know how to improve our skill, intelligence, and strength, but we still have no way of increasing our charm. Well, you do this via socializing with people. The more time you spend with your classmates, the more your charm will go up, so choose wisely with what you're doing inside every single day. Upon waking up on one of my next days, I see that I've missed a class because I just totally forgot to go, meaning that I'll have to go to detention once school's over. Upon entering the detention room, we see a ton of outlaws like Team Rocket students, bikers, and even our classmate. Not that much really happens here, you just waste your time because that's your punishment for not going to class, and I'm pretty sure if you get detention too many times you can actually get thrown out of school. Once I'm done there, I go back to my usual day shift by getting my skills up, but I also talk to some guy with a Weavile on the bench who says that he has a mission for me, but we're not evil enough to accept it yet. The next day I also get some homework in class which I'll have to do once I get to my dorm room. On one of the routes I find a cool little mystery dungeon Easter egg with a Kecleon standing next to a shop. I captured a Wimpod named Vacuum because Golisopod is always an overpowered team member, and upon checking my stats I see that I've already acquired 24 in my skill, meaning that I'll be able to upgrade my routes shortly. But first the weekend comes by, which means it's time to go to the Battle Club, a facility that's only open on the weekends where students can basically just chill out from their regular activities. There's a ton of useful stuff for sale here, but also a new card game made specifically for this game. And to me, it was really addicting beating this kid up every single time. Out of the 20 hours that I've played this game, I think like 5 of them were just playing this card game. It is super simple, but it's just so much fun. And I don't really think I have to explain it if you just look at the gameplay in front of you. The next day after class, I decided to head over to the teacher and upgrade all of my floor fields to their maximum rank. This unlocked everything for me from Green Hills to Lush Forest to Woodland River, Mount Grassland, and Rain Forest. I checked out Rainy Forest first because it looked like the most interesting, but is just once again another woods with some pretty OP grass types, allowing me to capture a Cottony and a Ferroseed. I also found a guy here with 6 Pokemon by his side and he called himself a ninja. And you can actually study under him if you have the right requirements, which are 10 Dark Aura, 15 Intelligence, and 15 Skill, which I didn't have yet. So I decided to leave him alone for now, but I'm definitely keeping him in the back of my mind. I also evolved my Munchlax into Snorlax at level 30, and after not really finding anything on this route anymore, I decided to leave and check another one out. This time I went to Mount Grassland, which is mostly filled with bug types, some people standing around a table filling out papers, and a guy with a Smeargle that after he loses to me says that he doesn't need this weak Smeargle anymore and just gives it to me. Now that's a great trainer if I've ever seen one. I found a blue clone named Cam on this route, but besides that, nothing all that interesting except for an amazing Lotad, which we're going to use to worship the one and only god, Mirror B. After beating up the rarest spawn ever, Leafeon, I headed back to the campus and started grinding up my traits again. Talking to my upperclassmen was also fun, and after showing off my strength to the dojo again, I then went back to the very first route and decided to help that guy out with his monocle. But as I was trying to pick it up, a pincer attacked me out of nowhere. So after overpowering it and giving the guy his monocle back, I completed another quest, increasing my light aura even more. I went back to my class and this time it was Friday, so I was able to challenge my teacher to a battle so that I could advance to the C class, but I had no idea what the level caps would be like. As it turns out, his Pokemon were a little bit higher level than mine, and he gave me a good ass spanking that I wouldn't forget. He decided to give me a 50-50 chance of still going up to the C class, so I took that, but I failed the exam, meaning that I would have to spend another week in the D class, which is a little bit disappointing, but does allow me to level up my traits a lot more. So I went around the routes, leveling up my Pokemon and evolving my Skiploom into Jumpluff, and I also got the Beast Golisopod. I spent a couple of my points on Raydance too, and then evolved Lombre into Ludicolo, and with that my week is already over because I just spent the rest of the days leveling up my traits and hanging out with people, meaning I stood there once again, face to face with my teacher. This time, I was going to beat him. Ferroseed dealt with his creature Kricketune by using Iron Heads, and Ambipom and Carnivine were no match for Pixel the Sylveon. I easily defeated him and he promoted me to the C class. My mentor Vane calls me and congratulates me, but just says they should go and talk to the sailor and check my dorm. So that's what I do. I head over to the docks and talk to the sailor, and he decides to bring me to a new island. And here you can do a ton of stuff. But the first thing I decided to do was go to the back, and here there are 3 team bases: Team Magma, Aqua, and Rocket. You can try to take them on, but for some of them you only get 1 of 2 chances to do so. I did not know this going into this game and went straight into the Team Magma hideout, but I wasn't even able to get past the first couple of grunts and they threw me out. Upon trying to enter again, I wasn't able to get past the first grunt anymore because he just wouldn't let me in, totally locking me out of the Team Magma base, which I personally find really sad because I wanted to know what was at the end of it. Because I'm now in the C class, I also have new classmates, and the first one I got introduced to was Aaron. So I decided to hang out with her and battle her for a bit to rank her up. I then pick up the fast travel from my dorm, which is going to be super useful for traversing around because you can just go to any kind of building in one click of a button. Do keep in mind you'll only be able to use this about 5 times every single day, so don't go and overuse it. I went to sleep that night and then a cutscene just started playing out of nowhere. And they're basically bad guys here to get data on some strong trainers. But they get found out by the police, but instead of running away or getting arrested, he decides to throw out an electrode and explode on the cop. Yeah, I don't really know where this story is going at all, but that's not really why I'm playing this game. So they decide to leave and go back to HQ without any data because of the ruckus they just made. I made some more little kids cry by defeating them in Pokemon card games and started another bond with Cassandra. I then decided to check out the C rank routes, and the first one seems to be a metal one, with one of those mentor trainers standing around once again, and he seems to have mostly fighting and steel types. I also don't have the requirements to let him be my master, all because my light aura is just too low. I did however capture a Melton here, because if I could get a Melmetal, that would be pretty useful. I just don't know how to evolve this little guy. After exiting this steel type cave, I find the Flyinium Z and immediately enter a new route too. This is where I find the Dragon Master Zinnia, and if you once again have the right traits, she can also be your master. So I think I'm going to try and save up to get her, just because I like her as a character and she definitely intrigues me. I then run into a researcher who says that I have to watch out because Marowak and Mandibuzz are fighting here. Upon closer examination, we do see that there is a turf war going on and we beat the crap out of all of these Pokemon, not really getting a reward for it, which was quite sad. I do like the aesthetic of this place, a boneyard with a ton of Pokemon skulls lying around. Definitely seems like a place where Mandibuzz would operate. I found a guy that was being harassed by 3 Fearos, so I beat them up for him so we can get out of this place. We go back to our dorm room and I decide to check my PC and see this traits tab. As it turns out, you can get different traits that can help you out if you do enough stat training. Since I've spent a ton of my time in the dojo, I got the no sweat trait, giving me a discount on everything that costs strength points. There's a ton of useful ones, but you can only have 2, which once again puts you in a dilemma with which one you have to choose. I also change into my Team Magma outfit, which looks really good on me, by the way. Watch out boys, because I'm stealing your girl with this new fit. And then I finally go to my first ever C class. Here we meet with the professor, Mr. C, and he is a specialist in electric and steel types. But as you can see, one of our classmates also managed to get up into this class, which means he's probably going to be our biggest rival and nemesis throughout the entire game. And now classes are actually useful, because in the middle of class you get to go to the cafeteria and hang out with one of your classmates or former classmates, so you can get some extra points to your relationship with them. I'm already at 26 with Akiza, so I think I'm going to try and get her to 100. With that, the class ends and I decide to level up my entire floor already by dropping all of my skill points into it, giving me access to Riverside Road, Iron Grove, Thunder Factory, Waterfall Passage, and Aqua Grotto. But we've obviously already been in the first 2. I decided to go for the Thunder Factory next, and here we of course see a ton of electric types, but also just a power plant. We find out after battling a trainer that he mistook me for an evil scientist that's doing a very bad experiment on Pokemon, so we have to find him and stop him. But before we do that, we go back to the New City District together with the sailor and check out the New Dawn headquarters. This is a place where all of the world forces get together for emergency meetings, like if the planet's in danger or something. And if you walk around, you see some very familiar faces like Steven Stone, Lance the Dragon Master, and Cynthia. But they are guarded by police, and in order to go and talk to them, you first need to become an S-class student. So we're going to be focusing on that. I go back to the evil team district and decide to take a swing at the Team Aqua base. I did manage to get inside and beat up a couple of grunts, but once you get inside, you get ambushed by an entire squad. They will follow you around everywhere, and you're basically forced to battle them. And I didn't have enough healing items with me because I wasn't that prepared, so they were able to throw me out and barricade their door. And if I want to get in again, I'm going to have to pay a lot of strength points to break that door down and try again. I then realized that I have enough points to go and talk to Zinnia and make her my master, but I sadly enough won't be able to pick another one. You can then find her in the basement, but in order to get your first task, you first need to be an A-rank student and give her a dragon-type Pokemon. So I went back out to exploring the other routes and went to the waterfall route instead, where I captured a Cramorant and fought a rampaging Gyarados. There's also a gang of Pyukumukus that seems to have taken over this route, and I don't want any trouble with them, so I leave them alone and evolve my Ferroseed into Ferrothorn and then go to the next class. Here's where we have to do our very first class battle, where you have to go into a fight with one of your classmates, but you can only pick one Pokemon as they also pick one Pokemon. I was up against Erin and made her eat my Pineapple Dug's dust. Then it was time to check out the rocket base. Outside there is a guy that looks like Archer that will trade you an egg for some money. But don't fall for this scam because most of his eggs are pretty bad, but you can try to bargain with him to bring down the price a bit. And then I entered the Team Rocket facility, which kind of reminded me of a Silphco Team Rocket hideout fusion. I was able to get pretty far into this base until I ran into Patrell, and his overleveled poison types made me regret ever going in this base. After getting thrown out, I find another guy from my class, Eros, so I started taking our relationship to the next level too. I checked out the Aqua Grotto, but the only thing I really found here was a random Phione battle that sent me down 10 charm. I did manage to add it to my Pokedex though. I wasted some more skill points on a Berserker den, and finally got my first reward from leveling up Akiza to 25 or above, which gave me a Focus Sash. Every time one of your social links is going to hit level 25, you will get a free item from them, which is an amazing incentive to try and get all of them done. The next Friday, I went back to class because I knew I had to move on to B class. A pretty easy fight. Snorlax dealt with Electabuzz, while Ludicolo took out Pelipper, and Ferrothorn defeated Swanna and Excadrill. Not only can I move on to the next class, they also gave me the Z-Ring, allowing me to use all of the Z crystals I have already found. Not that I ever use Z moves though. I found one of my other students, Dreadnought, but I really wasn't all that interested in her. So instead I captured a cute Yamper, named it Peppy, and evolved it into Bolt Hunt. I finally found that scientist in the power plant who was doing all of those experiments on Pokemon, so we shut him down and increased our light aura. Inside the power plant I found another raid den, and this Pokemon will be one of our best. It's going to be an Electrode, but it's his Hisuian form. At the back of the power plant I also captured a Porygon 2 with Eviolite. This thing will shred through everything and never go down. And after grabbing the electric type Z crystal, I went back to sleep at my dorm, triggering another cutscene with the same two people. This time they managed to hack into the academy's network and see the progress of all the students. The guy seems to be very cocky, saying that he would destroy this entire academy on his own if he has to, and he doesn't really care that there's students with potential here because he seems to think he's the strongest anyway. They also say that there's 2 students here that have surpassed the ranks faster than anybody ever has, so they have to get their hands on them. I wonder who they are. I do have to say that these cutscenes seem pretty random and only occur once you've been able to progress through a class, so it's going to take a while before we know their full intentions. I went to check out the new routes that I unlocked with my new B rank floor after leveling up the entire floor. First one seems to be a fighting type room, but there really isn't all that much to do here, as you can just walk through it without anything happening and pick up the Phytinium Z. Secondly was an icy route with some pretty cool Pokemon like Frostlass and Snom in there, and obviously a ton of ice puzzles and a cave that isn't able to be entered, and to this day I'm still wondering what's behind it. I then went back to the dojo and checked up with Erin and got her up to a rank 28, allowing her to give me the heavy duty boots as a reward. I then attended my first B rank class, and my teacher this time is Mr. B. Here we once again battle one of our classmates. This time is Tony, and and we have no problem rolling through him. If you take a check up at my stats right now, I have 29 strength, 40 intelligence, 22 charm, and 71 skill. So I've definitely been grinding quite a lot. So after leaving class and leveling up my entire round, wasting basically all of my skill points, allowing me to unlock the Toxic Canyon, Icy Glaciers, Arena Plaza, Ancient Ruins, and Boulder Provenance. The Ancient Ruins was pretty cool to traverse through. It was full of Marowak, but did have a boss fight with a Stun Journer, and after you defeat him, you can get a Relic Crown, so you can get a ton of money by selling that. Toxic Canyon is just as it sounds, a mystery dungeon level with a ton of poison types in it, and besides the Z Crystal and the Beedrillite, there really wasn't that much to see here. I then went to check out the last area, which was just a maze of strength puzzles, with some very mediocre rewards at the end, and only rock types to speak of. So with all of my new routes checked off, I went back to the Team Rocket facility, but this time the guard doesn't want to let me in, unless we manage to beat him in a game of the Pokemon cards. Since I thought that I was basically a master at this point, I accepted this challenge. And that was the worst mistake of my life. He had fully evolved Pokemon and even a Mewtwo in there, while I was working with still first form Pokemon. So yeah, I got utterly destroyed and I was never ever able to enter the Team Rocket facility again. So I spent all of my strength points on breaking down the Team Aqua base instead, but to no avail. I didn't even manage to get further than last time. And if I would have known this was going to be this hard, I would have waited until the end of my 100 days to try and finish these 3 facilities. But if you manage to do it, leave it in the comments down below, because I would love to know what happens when you beat one of them. Back to class it is, and this time we get to face our rival for the first time, Esrever. And he is arguably the coolest Pokemon I have ever seen. It's straight from Pokemon Infinite Fusion, a Mega Silvally that looks like Arceus. My Ferrothorn, despite being 8 levels lower, still managed to win this battle, but this was definitely the coolest Fakemon I've seen so far. I get some extra homework to do for the weekend, meet up with Aurora for the first time, and she says that she sleeps 100 hours per week but is still strong. That's literally me in real life. Over 60 days into the game, and I only now find out that there is a move relearner in the library. So I put him to good use. I also upgraded my arsenal of cards, because every time you register a new Pokemon in your Pokedex, you can buy its card. And if I would have known this before challenging the guard, I probably would have had a chance to win. But we ain't Doctor Who in here, we can't go back in time. Let's go and bring our intelligence up and go talk to Akiza, because we just hit level 50 with her. As a reward, she gives me an egg because she says that she's no mama bird and is already way too busy with her studies. And we also get some extra charm from reaching this level. Straight after, Aaron also reaches level 50, and she also decides to give me a Pokemon egg. Another Friday does arrive, which means another opportunity for me to move on to Class A. So I ask Mr. B for permission, and he decides to give me my exam. Starting out with a Sneasler who gets destroyed by Porygon 2's Psybeam. Frostlass handles the Crabominable straight after, Electrode blasts Nidoqueen out of here, and Ferrothorn deals with the last Pokemon Aurorus. As my reward for graduating here, I get the Mega Ring, which is obviously going to be way more useful. Since we've moved up, it's time for a new cutscene. This time they manage to break into our dorm, but they get found out by another student, so they once again can't complete their operation because they decide to engulf this student with a muck, basically killing him in Minecraft. I head straight to my A-class teacher and upgrade my floor immediately, and these will be the final couple of floors because every floor kind of represents a typing and we've gone through all of them by now. First I check out Lava Park, a place full of fire types in the middle of a volcano. A ton of cool stuff here, including a Volcarona boss fight, which I ultimately decided to add to my team, and also grabbed the Houndour here and evolved it into Houndoom, which will be my mega Pokemon from now on. Our second destination is going to be Pixie Island. Obviously this is going to be filled with fairy types, and I do grab an Impidimp here as it's an amazing utility mon. I do really like this Pixie floor, it's basically a maze of flowers, but it's time to move on to the Haunted Manor. This might actually be my favorite out of all of the routes we've unlocked so far. You get to teleport around with all of these weird little shapes on the floor, it's filled to the brim with ghost types and also some pretty cool Easter eggs like a chef that will eat you if you don't watch out. All around some pretty creepy vibes, but as I was walking through here, my egg that I got from one of my social links finally hatched into a Mankey. Very useless. Not going to use it at all. I also did an Hisuian Zoroark raid and evolved my Impidimp into Grimmsnarl. And obviously his name is going to be Pimp My Dimp. There's 2 more routes to check out. The Mind Asylum is first. Here you can teleport around just like in Sabrina's gym and grab all of the items you need. And the last one was the Dragon type room, which we needed to unlock in order to start Zinnia's questline. Sadly enough, if you try to battle an Aerodactyl here, your game will crash, so make sure to not run into them. So with all of those routes out of the way, I headed back to class, but this time there's a ruckus going on. Esriver comes to my desk and says that he's tired of seeing me with my lame Pokemon ranking up in the same way that he is. He says that I'm like a parasite and that I don't know what my father did to his family. So there must be some beef going on between our parents. The teacher tries to jump in, but Esriver is like, I'm way stronger than you anyway, so I'm just going to do whatever I want. And just as the teacher sends her Dusknoir down upon him, he straight up defeats it in one go with his Silvally. The teacher decides to call his mentor, which is one of the S-class students, but he won't get here in time to stop him. So here we come face to face with him. He wants a fully fledged battle with me, not just a one-on-one. So that's what we'll give him. Maybe that will calm him down. Well, this fight totally didn't go my way, however. He had a level 82 Silvally. Mega Silvally, actually, and I was rocking level 65s. Him and his Silvally and Charizard totally walloped me. I don't think it really matters if you win or lose this fight all that much, because straight after you do have to enter a fist fight with him, and since I've done about 1,000 of these already, I made sure to bonk him on the head real good. This still didn't calm him down, but luckily his mentor does come in. It's our good friend Born, as well as Lynn. They try to calm him down, but it doesn't really work because Esriver is like, I'm the strongest one on this campus now. I want to challenge you for the #1 spot. Luckily, Lynn sweeps in and is like, if you manage to defeat one of my Pokemon, I will let you have a battle with Born. So he accepts and is like, one Pokemon, I can easily beat that. So he sends out his Gallade and he destroys everything Esriver has worked for, totally humiliating him in front of everybody and showing off the strength of S-class students. Esriver is about to give up, knowing that he's not strong enough to beat an S-class student yet, so what's even the point of trying anymore? But luckily our 2 boys though manage to pep him up a bit by saying if he keeps on working hard, he might be able to get into the class eventually. Esriver leaves and also mentions that me and him might be closer related than we might know. And next time they definitely won't bail us out if something like this happens. So I have to watch my back. The teacher says that she's very sorry that my first day as an A-rank student went like this, but it doesn't mean that we can slack off because we have to head back to the lesson. Obviously, I've spent the rest of the week just doing my daily stuff, like leveling up my Pokemon, getting my skill points, and skipped straight up to Friday because I wanted to get into that S class as fast as possible because those guys seem way too strong. She did have a pretty good team with a ton of dark types and a Mega Alakazam thrown in there, but nothing I really couldn't handle, as I was prepared to face another level 85 plus team. Once the battle's over, I get a Dynamax band and finally get promoted to that beautiful S rank. So I get my call from Vane congratulating me, and he obviously mentions what I have to do now. I now get a room in a new S rank dorm, but I also have to complete the battle week, which will be hosted every single Monday at the Battle Club. Before heading over there, I did evolve my Zweilous into a high dragon, and with this new dragon, I headed to the basement where Zinnia was waiting to give me her task. This feature is still in beta mode, so it's not fully completed yet, and now I have turned into an apprenticed beast tamer, allowing me to learn special dragon, bug, and flying type moves, and giving them a 10% boost in damage too. Zinnia can learn you new moves, but she can also level you up to the next tier of the expert beast tamer, but in order to do that, I need to bring her a level 50 Flygon, which is something I don't have. We then go to the principal's office just to talk to him, a friendly little talk. And if you want, you can select the option to leave this school, which I didn't even want to risk doing. So I headed out of there and checked out my new dorm room, which was honestly not even all that bigger than my regular one. I do have a bigger bed though. We can also use Blake's social link, but since our 100 days are almost up already, I don't think I'm going to get too far with him. I went to sleep that night and started another cutscene, but this time the 2 bad guys were standing in front of my old dorm room, and I'm obviously not there at all. They've collected more than enough data, and they say that I am the one with the most potential. They end up leaving and say that I shouldn't disappoint them, but honestly at this point I still have no idea what they're talking about. I did remember to take the sailor to go and talk to Cynthia and Steven, because I'm finally an S-class student now, and Cynthia comes up to me and says that if I manage to get strong enough in school and show everybody my power, she will introduce me to all of the other champions. So we can't really do all that much here yet. And this is where Battle Week started. And it's basically like the Elite Four or like a very big Pokemon tournament, because first you have to face some gym leaders. Once you're able to beat them, you can battle again next week to battle gym leaders from another region. You have to do this 4 weeks in a row so you can defeat gym leaders from generation 1 through 4. Once you're able to get through the 4th generation, you can finally battle the Elite Four members. Once you get through these Elite Four members, you'll get to face some really cool trainers, but this is a gauntlet battle. If you lose, you get thrown out and you have to wait until next week to try again. I lost so many times and basically wasted all of my days. I was able to get some of my links up to rank 100, like Akiza, and it's actually pretty cool once you get to level 100, because then you get to team up and she gets to follow you around everywhere, even helping you out in battle. She will also teach you a couple of moves that you can otherwise not get, so it's definitely worth getting to the maximum rank with all of your companions. But let's get back to that Battle Week tournament. You can face trainers like Wes from Pokemon Colosseum here, who has an actual Shadow Lugia that has the stats of a Gigantamax Eternatus. This thing is almost impossible to take down. So this part of the video is past my 100 days, because I just couldn't get past all of these trainers with my teams, as all of their Pokemon were just insane. I did find out that there is a level up glitch, because your Pokemon can actually go up above level 100, which was kind of crazy to see. But after you defeat Wes, you can battle Yellow the next week, but her team really isn't all that strong. After this, you get to battle Brendan and May, which have some pretty strong Hoenn teams with a Mega Swampert on them, as well as a Mega Blaziken. Once you're doing that, you have to battle Crystal, then Silver, and once you're done with that batch of trainers, you can come back the next day to challenge Zinnia as your first opponent, who has one of the strongest but coolest dragon teams out there, with your Regidrago, Mega Salamence, Tyrantrum, and much more. Once you're able to get past that, Leaf will come and challenge you. Then it's Gold's turn to beat your ass up. Obviously, this wouldn't be complete with Blue as your second to last opponent. That's right, there is only one more opponent after this, and that's the big boy Red. And he has a team that is basically unbeatable if you don't have a team that's like 100 levels above him. He starts out with a pretty big boy, Mega Mewtwo Y. Then a Gigachu. Yeah, not just a Pikachu. This thing has stats that will rival legendaries, and I absolutely love this meme Pokemon. A Mega Charizard X that he can use without even Mega Evolving it. A Mega Blastoise as well, just like the Charizard didn't even need the Mega Evolve. A regular Snorlax, which is a nice change of pace, until you realize you will always Gigantamax this. And lastly, a Mega Venusaur as well. I honestly don't think you're supposed to beat this tournament, so I cheated my way through it with some rare candies, I know, but I just wanted to know what was at the end of it. At the end, I get congratulated and they say that I have completed all 35 Battle Week tournament matches. As a reward, I get a Master Ball and a choice between the 3 Kanto starters, as well as both Mega Stones for Charizard, a Pikachu, Z-Crystal, and a Light Ball. And that's the end of Pokemon Pathways. I did proceed a couple of weeks into the future, but no more events were added. Sadly enough, the story still hasn't been finished yet, but I do think there is a very good foundation on this game. It just needs to be fleshed out by quite a margin. This game still needs a lot of work, but it's so much fun to play and so different from any other ROM hack or fan game I've played in the past. So if this game is something you're interested in, if the mechanics look fun to you, I definitely give it a try, because I would love this to get finished, because I have no idea where the story is heading. They can also definitely benefit from a lot more social link variety and more events, because it does get repetitive at some times, but for everything that I've seen, I think this could be a 10 out of 10 game once fully finished. But now it's time to end of this video by thanking my membership and Patreon supporters. If you want to do so yourself, you can click the links in the description. It's always appreciated, but not needed. And as always, people, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I'm Zwiggo, and I'll see you guys next time.